Today we're making the Sirina shoulder bag by Apple Green Cottage. Hello everybody, welcome back or welcome to Allie Sew Crafty, where we talk all about sewing. This video is a step-by-step tutorial on how to make the Sirina shoulder bag. And I want to say thank you to the pattern designer for allowing me to do this video today. And as a thank you to all of you, she is giving you a special discount when you get this pattern. I have added the link down in the description. There is an expiration date, so hurry up and get it soon. But if you watch this video after the fact, please don't let that discourage you from getting this pattern, because you will not regret it. This is a great bag, you guys. Look how beautiful it is. So I first made this bag, to be honest, for me, right? Like to try it and for me. But after my mom saw it, she's like, that's my bag. So now I have to make another one, which is fine. I'm already thinking of the next thing. So this pattern is very detailed. Like, it has great instructions, great pictures. The patterns pieces are numbered. So if you follow along with this video and her instructions, you should be able to make this bag with no problems whatsoever. This is not a beginner bag. Okay, so if you're a beginner that you've never done a zipper or things like that, then this may not be the bag for you. But if you have made a couple of bags and you want to experiment with some faux leather, then definitely give this bag a try. One thing I want to mention is that when you're cutting the front pocket here, just pay attention to the positioning of your pattern, because you have to cut it in mirror. So you want to make sure you don't miss that step. As you can see, the bag has this beautiful panel here in the front, which you can get really creative with this. You can do also faux leather, quilting cotton, whatever you want. But it is a pocket, guys. It closes with a magnetic snap and is such a deep pocket that you can fit in here your cell phone or anything that you want to have easy access. The back has a full width pocket, again, with a magnetic snap closure. It is like you can pretty much carry anything you want here. In the back, you can also make it another color. I only use the accent fabric here on the front, as you can see, and on the zipper panel, and a little bit on the straps. But it really is up to you, however you want to do it. So great amount of pockets on the outside, and on the inside you have the option to do the recessed zipper or a magnetic snap if you don't want to do the zipper. And then on the inside it has a slip pocket that you can stitch in half or threes, and a zipper pocket here. Here's the zipper pocket, a zipper pocket. So plenty of storage room and ability to do pockets with this bag. You can do 2 zipper pockets, 2 slip pockets. It really is up to you, whatever you want. The shoulder strap is just the right size. I'm 5'5", and I don't think I want it longer than this or shorter. Now you can adjust the strap, of course, to fit you, or you can even make this a crossbody strap. I think it will work. But look how, this is great. I mean, it fits just right. I really like this bag, you guys. I'm definitely making another one. The width of this bag is about 13 3/4 inches. The length is 9 3/4, and the depth here, the width is 3 inches. So when I looked at the picture on the pattern, it didn't look that big. And I read the instructions that it says the finished size, and I said, okay, it's a good size. But mine, for some reason, ended up being a little bit bigger, and I put it at 100%. So I don't know. here it is. I absolutely love this size, and I'm so glad that it's not smaller. This is a perfect size bag. Like, it really is. I don't know if you can tell, but I'm very happy with this bag. I'll go over the materials in the video instructions, so in just a moment. But I want to mention that instead of using quilting cotton or waterproof canvas, I used ripstop for the lining. And it worked out for me perfectly. It did not add a lot of bulk to my seams. So I'm very happy with using the ripstop. So it's something I wanted to try, and it worked out. Let's go ahead and get started. I am going to use this faux leather, and this is a faux leather from Indolove Creations. I'll add the link in the description for the materials. It's called Midnight. It's like a deep navy blue. For the accent, I am using this gorgeous quilting cotton. Now, this quilting cotton, this design is something I created, and I sent it to have it printed, and they printed it on this Kona 100% quilting cotton fabric. And I'm telling you, it is absolutely the greatest quality fabric and quilting cotton that I have felt. Like, it's Kona, so it's good quality, but this is definitely great. The colors are very vibrant. It's really, really a great company to have your fabric designs printed on. I'll put the link in the description for this company. For the lining, I'm going to use ripstop. For the interfacing on this bag, you will need a mid to heavyweight interfacing, mainly for probably the exterior of the bag. The fabric designer recommends that you use Decovil Light. I found this Lux Fuse. This is like a Decovil Light alternative. It's very economical compared to Decovil Light because you can buy bigger width, and it's like the same price, but you get more for it. So it saves you money, and it does the work. I use it, and it has worked great for me. So Lux Fuse, again, I'm adding the link in the description. I'm not an affiliate, but you can find several interfacings from this company. Really, really good. The second form of interfacing is a light to medium interfacing. This is your equivalent to Pilon SF101 Shape Flex, okay? You can use that. You can use any other brand that you usually use, like Woven Fuse, whatever. I use this weft woven interfacing from Fabric Wholesale Direct. I've been using it for at least 6 years now. I like it because it works just like the Woven Fuse or Shape Flex, all of that. For 1 yard, the width is 60 inches. So if I buy 1 yard of this, I get 3 times the amount that I will get if I buy Shape Flex, okay? Because it's 60 inches wide compared to 20 inches wide. And it's only $3.50 a yard or $3.99, something like that. Depends on how much it is at the time of this video. I don't know. But I have never paid more than $3.99 for a yard of this, and it works just like any other Woven Fuse, Shape Flex, anything, and you get a lot more for your money. So I'm adding the link in the description for this one as well. You will need a firm interfacing or ultra firm stabilizer. You can use sewing foam if you don't have an ultra firm stabilizer like this one. You can use also Decovil Heavy, but I am using Peltex Ultra Firm, and it's fusible on one side. Okay, and all you need is just a little piece like this. So any of those options work. And you will also need some fusible fleece. I'm using this Pelon 973F fusible fleece, and yeah, it's just a little piece like this, and it's fusible on one side. Materials that you will need to make this bag will be zipper, and this is a number 5 zipper nylon coil so that you can cut through the zipper teeth and it will be fine. Double-sided tape, you will definitely need this. This is a 1/4 inch double-sided tape. For the strap, 2 swivel hooks and 2 D-rings right here. You will need 2 zipper pulls. So I already installed the zipper pulls to the zipper here. And you will need 2 magnetic snaps. So these are like the standard magnetic snaps. I'm using polyester all-purpose thread for this bag. And then you have your regular tools like your seam reapers, your marking pens, a smaller ruler to measure corners, etc. Fray check, I use this a lot. Whether I'm sewing with faux leather or quilting cotton, I use this. Scissors, you know, just your tools, your sewing tools. Perfect. So now that we have all the materials, let's go ahead and start cutting the patterns, okay? So we're gonna cut the exterior lining and the interfacings. For the interior zipper pocket, I usually go find my containers with tons of scrap fabrics and I find a piece that matches the size of the zipper pocket. It doesn't matter what kind of fabric, doesn't matter the color, the design, it doesn't matter. I just grab whatever I have that is the size of the zipper pocket and that's what I use. And that's one way I found to kind of move some of my scrap fabrics that I accumulate after each project, okay? So we're going to add the interfacing. This is the Decovil Light substitute. So this works for Decovil Light or for this Lux Fuse that I'm using. And this is vinyl, okay? Faux leather. So the tip to do this is first and foremost, test a little scrap piece of your fabric and your interfacing just to make sure that it will fuse to the material and that your material can take the heat. Okay, those 2 things. So once you test it and you see, yeah, it works, great. You're going to get your interfacing, okay, and you're gonna cut it based on the measurements given in the pattern, but they're usually a little bit smaller than the actual patterned piece because you want to have that room for the seam allowance. Get your iron to for faux leather, I do the minimum heat. So in this case, for this machine, it's the delicate, okay? And I also get a little piece of parchment paper. And I use the parchment paper to provide extra protection for my pattern piece here, for my material. Because I definitely don't want to put the iron directly on the interfacing or directly on the faux leather to prevent any problems. So I just start by pressing, okay? Sit there for a couple of seconds and then lift the iron and press again. And again, a few seconds, lift and press. And I literally do 2 or 3 seconds. I don't stay there for too long because I want to view how the interfacing is, attaching, fusing to my fabric. And I have a little more control this way. So I remove the parchment paper and feels warm, but not super hot. And you see this area right here is lifting, so it's not fused 100%, but this area is better. So I just, again, go back and slowly press it around those corners. I'm applying a little bit of pressure, but not a lot. Okay. A lot better now. Look, it's not lifting. And I wish I would have aligned it better, because now I have a lot of room here and not enough here, but oh well, it happens. But it lifts a little bit here. I can just press it for a couple more seconds, but this way I can control the heat and I can make sure that my fabric is reacting the way I want it to react, and I am not like burning the material. Okay, and that's it. Then you go ahead and continue applying all the interfacing to each one of the pieces, and I'm going to go over all of that in just a second. So let's go ahead and go over the pattern pieces that we cut out. Okay, the pattern number 1 is the exterior pocket and panel, exterior panel. And for that you will need 2 of the exterior in faux leather, and I added the Lox fuse to this, and then 2 more of the exterior panel, but shorter, because this is the front pocket. And for that you have your quilting cotton, where you will add your woven interfacing and fusible fleece and your lining. And if you are using anything other than ripstop or waterproof canvas, then you probably need to interface the lining as well. That's pattern number 1. Pattern number 2 is your exterior panel. And for this you need 3 pieces. You need the main panel like this with your Decoville light or Lox fuse. Then you need the same pattern but a little bit shorter, and the pattern instructions has it in there, you know where to cut. And this is for the exterior pocket. If you're using quilting cotton, then add the same interfacing as you would do for your front pocket. But if not, like in this case, I'm using the same faux leather, I decided not to add interfacing because of too much bulkiness, I think. So I left it just like that, but just add the interfacing based on your material. And then your lining, same thing. If it needs interfacing, go ahead and do that. Pattern number 3 is the bottom of the bag. And for this, faux leather, Decoville light. And optional, you can add a little piece of the ultra firm interfacing, which I may fuse it here over the Lox fuse in this case, or the Decoville light. That's what you're using. Pattern number 4 is your lining, your interior lining. You only need 2 pieces of your lining fabric, interface if necessary. Pattern number 5 is your zipper recess pattern pieces, and you need 2 of the quilting cotton with woven interfacing and 2 of the lining. If you are interfacing it, go ahead and do that. Pattern 6 is your zipper tabs and your your zipper tab and your strap anchors. Pattern 7 is just a random piece of fabric. You can add interfacing to this if you want, but this is for your interior zipper. Pattern number 8, I grabbed 2 pieces of fabric, quilting cotton, that I'm going to cut to the shape of the zipper pockets. I don't add interfacing to those. Pattern number 9 is also lining. It's a pocket, so it's just a lining piece. And finally, pattern number 10. Pattern number 10 you have your exterior and your interfacing. For this pattern, the pattern designer says to use fusible fleece. However, my fusible fleece would not attach to my faux leather, so I ended up using Lox Fuse instead. These are all the pattern pieces. Now let's go ahead and put them together. So the first thing we're going to do is add the magnetic snap to the front pocket. And so get your magnetic snap and get the exterior pocket here with the pretty fabric and the lining. So we're going to add the male side of the magnetic snap to the wrong side of your lining first. And if you didn't add interfacing and you cannot tell which one is the right side and which one is the wrong side, just get a little marker, a little pen, and either write a marking, some sort of marking on your right side. I wrote an R for right on the right side or the wrong side, whichever is you will remember. Take the pattern and place a little dot on the marking that it's in the pattern instructions as of where the magnetic snap is going to go. Get a little piece of your interfacing. I'm getting some of the fusible interfacing that I didn't use, and we use that for reinforcement. So I'm just going to get the washers here for my magnetic snap, and I'm just going to mark the washers first, both of them at the same time. That way it's all done. I'm going to put this one aside. I'm going to add the washer on this one. And so I take my washer and I place the marking here for the magnetic snap placement with the pattern. And so now I'm going to place my washer right in that center, and I'm going to then draw the two lines on the side. And very carefully with your seam reaper, you are going to open the fabric on those two slots. And I'm just going to put a pin here to help me so it doesn't go all the way through. It will stop right there. And I do the same here for my fusible fleece. I put that here. So now I take the male side of my magnetic snap, and on the right side I slide it in and then put my fusible fleece back here to help it support. I put the washer, and then I with the same table I just press it, or with my fingers like this, and it stays in place. Perfect. Okay, now join both pieces, right sides together, and go ahead and clip them in place along the top part only, because you're going to stitch them together along the top part using the seam allowance that is listed in the pattern instructions, but only the top part. Once you're done with that part, you are going to flip it like this so that you can see both right sides, and you're going to take it back to the sewing machine and top stitch it along the very top. And next we're going to add the other side of the magnetic snap. Now we're going to add the other side of the magnetic snap, the female side, and you're going to put that on the front panel. But pay attention to the front panels here, because it can get a little bit tricky because of the shape. Okay, make sure that you add your magnetic snap to the side panel here that is pointing down from right to left, up, down. It's going down. So because when you join these two panels together like this, they're going in low. They're going down towards the center. So you're going to grab your pattern piece. You're going to place it on the right side front panel here, and you're going to mark the center where you're going to place your magnetic snap. And this is how it's going to look. So from right to left it goes lower, and from left to right it goes lower. Okay, just pay attention to that. That's the only thing I wanted to mention when it comes to that step. And now just add the magnetic snap like you did before. Now that your half front of the bag is complete, what you need to do is kind of close the pocket, right? You make sure the snap is closed, and get some pins and align all the edges at the bottom and side, and take it to the sewing machine and base stitch it in place. Bring the other half of your front panel, and we're going to join them right sides together, so like this, and you're going to stitch them along the middle center here of your panel, so along the right hand side, following the seam allowance of the pattern instructions. So I'm just going to join them real quick using some of my Wonder clips. And I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and join them along this side only, using the seam allowance provided in the pattern instructions. Once you join these two panels, you're going to open the seam. Okay, so you're just going to press it open with your fingers. If you have a little seam roller like this one, they come really handy at this point. If you're using quilting cotton, then you can just press it. That will also work. So open it like that, and you're going to take this to the sewing machine again, and you're going to top stitch that seam open. So you can either stitch it on this side, on the wrong side, looking at it. So you're going to stitch about 1/8 of an inch, or down the center, not 1/8 of an inch, but down the center of the fabric here where the seam is, or stitch it with the front right side up, and then again stitch it, but you know, probably, yeah, like around 1/8 of an inch from that center right here. I like to be able to see the front of my bag just in case the thread acts crazy, because sometimes that happens. So I am just going to make sure that my seam is open here with my fingers, and I'll just keep an eye on it as I'm stitching it to make sure that it is open back here at the bottom. So I just keep it open here with my fingers, and I just keep an eye on it as I'm pressing it to make sure that it's still open, okay? And the stitch length is 4 millimeters. And here's your front panel all done. Okay, we're gonna put it on the side for now. So now we're going to make the back pocket. So you're going to get your pattern pieces number 2, the ones that are shorter. Okay, the lining and the exterior, and the magnetic snaps. And we're just going to follow the exact same procedure that we did for the front pocket to place the magnetic snap. We are going to install the male part of the magnetic snap on the pocket lining. So I'm going to bring the pocket lining here. I'm going to follow the measurements on the pattern instructions. So that's what I'm going to do right now. So here I installed the male side of the magnetic snap to my lining, and I'm going to grab now the other part of my back pocket, and I'm going to join them right sides together like this, and I'm going to take them to the sewing machine. I'm going to do the same thing that I did for the first pocket. We're just going to take this to the sewing machine, stitch it along the top, following the seam allowance in the pattern instructions. And once you do that, you're going to flip it open where you can see both right sides, and you're going to top stitch it. This is how it looks, okay? Right here, you have your back pocket. It's top stitched on the top, and you can see your magnetic snap, and it's not joined to the sides. So we're going to again put this aside, and now you're going to get your outer back piece, and we're going to now add the other magnetic snap. Again, you can just follow the instructions for the first pocket we made. I am not going to share the measurements. I'm just going to go ahead and install the magnetic snap now to the outer part. Once we do that, then we can assemble both pieces together like this, like we did for the front, okay? I want to mention that the actual pattern piece has the markings of where the magnetic snap needs to go. What I did is that I poke a hole on that place where the snap is going, and I place the pattern over my fabric like this. Make sure that everything is aligned, you know, that everything looks good. Okay, and then I take my marking pen, the one that's for the faux leather, and I just drew the dot right there. And now you can clearly see the dot in the placement where my female magnetic snap is going to. So once you finished your outer pocket, okay, you are going to join it to the back piece of your bag. Do not base stitch it together. We're going to do something different here that the pattern designer explains, and it looks like it was going to help reduce the bulk around the seams, okay? And go ahead and put your pocket with a snap closed on the back of your panel and open it so that you can see just the wrong side of your lining. Okay, so you're going to flip the outer part away. And one tip I'm going to give you is that when you do that, the seam tends to open and kind of flip because it's not stitched in place. So you want to put some pins or wonder clips or something along that side where the top stitching is, and along the side as well, to make sure that the lining stays in place and it doesn't like move over to the back, okay? If that makes sense. So she gives instructions, measurements on where to mark on your lining piece. And as you can see, my lining piece is not the best. I didn't cut it correctly, obviously. It's a little crooked here, which thankfully the measurements that she gives are tall enough or long enough for me to be able to, cover some of that part that I didn't cut, but as you can see, it's crooked. So just pay attention how you cut your fabric. So I already marked here those lines that she mentions in the pattern, and you'll see the measurements when you pull up your pattern. We're going to stitch the lining of the pocket directly on the outer panel here of your bag. You're going to stitch starting on the side edge, and you're going to stitch towards that line that you drew. Then down the side, and you're going to stop where the two lines meet here. Across the bottom, stop where the two lines meet, and up the side, and you're going to pivot, and you're going to sew to the side edge. Now you're going to take some scissors. I'm taking these small scissors. You can take some fabric scissors, whatever. I think the small scissors will be more helpful, especially on this corner. And just trim all that excess material of your lining. Just make sure that you do not cut your exterior panel, and that you just don't cut any more of the lining or the stitching, you know, just very carefully trim off that excess material like that. Probably, yeah, the smaller probably be easier. Yeah. If you have any embroidering scissors, those will be good for this step too. So just to make sure that you don't cut any of the bottom material. Once you're done with your pocket and it looks nice and finished like this, you're going to flip the outer part of your pocket and go ahead and baste it in place along the sides and the bottom. Then we're going to join the front, the back, and the bottom panels. So I have the bottom panel here. I added the ultra firm interfacing. You can stitch it in place if it doesn't fuse. Mine didn't fuse, so I stitched it. If you are using foam, you will need to stitch it as well. So anyway, it's in the instructions on how to do that. But here it is. The next thing is marking the places where you're going to join your bottom panel with your front and back panels. The pattern has the measurements, the notches where you are going to, you know, mark your piece of fabric. I like to use this little tool to kind of cut my fabric here, and it creates a little notch, and that way I know for sure I am not marking it at the wrong place. Here's a marking right here. So I'm just going to mark my pattern there. Okay. I take this little tool and I place my marking. And I just carefully, and you can, this is very deep. You can go as deep as you want. I'm just gonna mark right there at the very edge of my pattern piece. Okay. And I'm gonna do the same on, so you have the two long sides and the two short edges. And then for the front and back panels, you have the same. You have the bottom and top markings only. So now I'm matching those markings. The bottom panel is smaller than the bottom part of your front and back panels. And there is a reason for that. You'll see in just a moment. But before you join them, I almost forgot, before you join them, you need to place some markings on your bottom panel. And of course, the pattern instructions has the measurements for that. But right here, along the long edge of the bottom panel, you're going to place a marking on each corner, okay? Once you do that, you're going to join the bottom panel to one of the exteriors. So I'm using the back exterior first, right sides together. And you're going to stitch them in place together, starting and ending where those where you place those markings. Okay, so in this case, here's the marking. You're going to start stitching here all the way up to the very end where that marking ends. Okay, and you're going to follow the seam allowance given in the pattern instruction. So make sure that you start and stop along that mark on the bottom panel. So I'm going to do one first, and when you're done with that, you're going to do the same for the other side. So I'm just going to join them right now because I'm going to take them to the sewing machine and do both at the same time. And for the front panel, the middle part where the two panels join, that is your marking. That's where you're going to match the marks. Okay. Perfect. So this is how it looks on the outside, and this is how it will look on the inside. So again, take it to the sewing machine and start and stop stitching along the marks that you have on your bottom panel. Make sure that you back stitch 1 or 2 stitches at the beginning and end. And I'm using a 3.5, almost 4 millimeter stitch length because of the faux leather. Next, you're going to get your scissors and you're going to cut 4 tiny little slits along the outer panels, not on the bottom panel, only on the outer panels seam allowance. So open your bag like this, open the seam allowance, and this is my bottom. I'm pulling this away, sorry, not aside, away. And I'm going to, actually I need to see it this way, and I'm gonna tell you why. Because I'm going to cut the tiny little slit along that marking. And it's tiny, but not on the bottom, just on the outer panel. So just like that, you see where the mark is, where the marking is, right there, I cut a tiny slit on my outer panel. Okay, and I'm gonna do that on all 4 sides. So here, and then I have it here. Okay, not too deep, just along the seam allowance. Then right there, and then right there. Okay. Looks good. Perfect. So we only clip the 2 outer panels, not the bottom. We don't clip the bottom. Now we're going to join the sides of the 2 outer panels. And so we're going to match the beginning and end on both sides and use wonder clips or pins, whatever you're using for that. And then on this side as well. Okay. And you're going to take this to the sewing machine and you're going to stitch it following the seam allowance. But if you look here, you are not stitching the bottom just yet. The bottom is going to look like this. You're going to stitch all the way to the end, from edge to edge, okay? You're going to stitch it all the way, from here all the way to the top, from bottom to top, all the way. Next, we're going to box the bottom. So here you have your sides have been completed, and your bottom piece, there's still an opening here, okay? And an opening here. So we are going to square off the bag or box the corners. What you're going to do is open the side seam. If you have, if this is quilting cotton, maybe you can press it. If not, just finger press it like I'm doing right now and open it. And once you have it opened like that and you can see your seam in there, you're going to match that seam to the marking that you did on your bottom panel. And everything should be flat and smooth. And get your wonder clips and, you know, clip it in place before taking it to the sewing machine. Doesn't want to go in there. Okay, so let's do the same on the other side. If your bag is giving you a little bit of a hard time, you can always make it flat on the side here, because it's kind of stiff. Not too bad, but you know, still, it has body. So you just join it right there. Join the center and then join the sides. And having those slits there that we did earlier really helps making the bottom here nice and straight. Okay, we're taking this to the sewing machine and using the seam allowance given in the pattern, you're going to stitch them together. I want to mention you're going to start stitching and ending right here where the slit opens. So from there all the way to the bottom here where the other slit is. So you don't want to go over to the other side of your bottom panel. It's just this section right here only. And I'm gonna stitch it with the bottom side of the bag against the bed of the sewing machine. You may have to, you know, move the fabric around a little bit, but it's okay. And make sure you back stitch at the beginning and end. Okay, hope you can see it. The lighting, remove the lights a little bit. So it started here, it ended here. Now I'm gonna do the other side. And now here comes the moment of truth, you guys. Let's turn this beautiful bag right side out. Let's see how it turned out. So for that, I just, you know, carefully start pulling from the bottom. Let's see. Okay, let's see how it's looking. And we just push the corners out. Now you can use your fingers for this. If you have a tool that helps you, you know, pull the corners out or push, sorry, the corners out, then use that. But this is how it is looking nice. Ooh, yeah, this is the back and that is the front so far. Nice. Okay. I don't need the tool. This vinyl is really good. So it's soft. It really is very soft. Beautiful. Oh, this is so nice. Okay. And if you notice here on the side, she mentions that in her pattern that this is a little bit lower. The seam here for the pocket, it's a little bit lower than the seam here for this other pocket. And that helps with the bulkiness, because can you imagine, like, that would have been a lot to sew through if we had this and this together. So that really helps. Consider liking this video and subscribing to this channel if you have learned something today. The next step is to add the strap connectors. So you're going to take your two pieces of fabric and find the middle crease on both of them. And I like to use my iron for this step because I just want this to stay in place. And then take the longer raw edge and bring it down to that center crease that you just marked and press it again. Okay. Take your D-ring, slide it in with the raw edges facing the bottom of the D-ring like this. Fold it and take it to the sewing machine and just stitch a square around the center here. Okay, so now you're going to take your two strap connectors and you're going to stitch them on the side of your bag here on the outside. Okay, so open the seam again and just, a lot of the times people say to, you know, place it right at the edge like this. I personally don't like to do that. I like to leave a little bit of fabric hanging. I've had bad experiences with straps coming loose, so I've learned the hard way to just leave it like that, and it's enough room for the strap. If sometimes I make these a little bit longer to accommodate that, but it's maybe like a 1/4 inch, not a lot, just a little bit like that. And you want it to be exactly a 1/4 inch on each side because you don't want one strap connector to be shorter than the other one. Okay, so we're taking this now to the sewing machine and you're going to stitch it in place and just stitch it quite a bit. I would do a couple of lines back and forth on each one of these. The next step is to now make the top recess zipper on the bag. So you're going to need your pattern pieces number 5, the exterior and lining, the number 6, which is your zipper tab, your longer zipper with one zipper pull and some marking tools. So first thing, we're going to mark on the zipper because we're going to pivot the top edge of the zipper. Make sure that you don't pivot the wrong side where your zipper pull is not facing. Okay, so I tend to do that, and then I have to take the zipper pull out and put it back in, and it's a nightmare. So what I'm going to do right now, just so that I don't get confused, I'm looking at my zipper and my zipper pull is facing towards the left. I am going to take my zipper tab and kind of fold it temporarily right now. Just, it's not perfect, but I'm just gonna place it there. And this is my marker that is now where I'm going to fold the end of the zipper. It's on the other side. So I take that and I measure 1 inch down. And there's so many ways that you can do this. Some people use a lighter and they melt the side of the zipper tape. I just use a pin. So what I do is that where I place that marking, I pinch it, and I move that piece of fabric that is folded towards the zipper teeth like this, and it automatically creates that 90-degree angle. And then I take a pin, just any pin, and I place the pin really close to the zipper teeth right there. so that it can stay in place, okay? And I do the same on the other side. So when I pinch it, I move it towards the zipper teeth like that, and I put a pin. Then, and I'm going to stitch along the longer edge along the side here. I'm going to stitch it in place. Make sure that you trim off also the edges here of your zipper when you're done. You're going to take your pattern pieces and you're going to fold along the seam allowance measurements in the pattern towards the wrong side, okay? So it looks like this. You're gonna do that on your exterior and your lining. And I'm using this ripstop. I just shared a little short here showing you how I made it so that you press it and the ripstop stays in shape. So check it out. Then get your zipper, okay? And you're going to install the zipper to the fabric here. With your fabric facing up, pick whichever one you want, but you gotta see the right side of it. You're going to take your zipper and you're going to turn it right side down so that both right sides are facing each other. And you're going to align your zipper to your piece of fabric, and you're going to leave room here. Don't put the zipper teeth right at the edge of the fold. You're going to leave the seam allowance indicated in the pattern, and that is where you're going to put the beginning of your zipper teeth, okay? Just make sure you do that. And we're going to clip this in place. And then you're going to take one of the lining pieces, and also with the right side facing down, so you see the wrong side of the fabric, you're going to sandwich your zipper in between the exterior and the lining fabric, making sure that everything is nice and smooth and straight. Just make sure that that you lined up all the edges on all three pieces. Your exterior line, your exterior fabric, your lining, and your zipper. That all the edges align. It's even, okay? Make sure if you need to redo it, but make sure it's even. Now you're going to stitch all of these three pieces together, beginning and ending from edge to edge. And you follow the seam allowance that is given to you in the pattern instructions. Make sure that you backstitch at the beginning and at the end. Now take your zipper panel here and turn it right side out. Okay, so you can see the right side for the exterior fabric and the lining, and finger press it, you know, like this. Sorry, it's a little, okay, just like that. On both sides, finger press it just like that. And now we're going to top stitch it all around all four sides.
And here's your final recessed zipper panel. We added the little tab here at the end and everything looks nice. Now we're going to do the lining zipper pocket. And for that, you need your pattern pieces, number 4, the 2 lining pieces, the template for the zipper pocket, pattern number 7, pattern 8, and it's 2 of those, okay? So I know, random colors, but nobody's gonna see. Okay, and your zipper by the yard, or your zipper with 1 zipper pull. Take the template, you're going to cut out the center, okay? And you're going to transfer that center rectangle to the back of the piece of fabric here. When drawing the center here on your zipper panel template, you're going to draw it on the wrong side of your fabric. So if you have interfacing, you'll see the interfacing here. And you're going to place it right sides together with one of the pieces of your lining. So this is the right side of the lining, okay? And this is the wrong side of the panel. And this is the right side. So match it so that it's centered and follow the measurements in the pattern instruction. What we're going to do next is stitched all along that rectangle. And you want to shorten your stitch length to, I don't know, about, I do 2.5 millimeters, but it really is up to your machine. What you want to make sure is that you get to the corner and that you pivot and you continue to stitch and you get to that corner. And I actually have a video here showing you my tips and techniques on how to make the zipper pocket so that the corners are always nice and smooth. Okay, so go check it out and come back so if you need help with that step. So once you have stitched it in place and you draw the little V's on the side and cut the middle, you're going to now flip it so that you see the wrong side. So that you see the right side. You're going to turn it. So you put this aside for now and bring one of your pockets, the zipper pocket, in your zipper, okay? And we're going to stitch the pocket lining to the zipper. So it's going to look like this. You're taking your one of the zipper linings right side up and your zipper right side up with the zipper pull, facing to the left. See, I almost messed it up. Okay, and you're going to stitch it along the top. And I'm just going to put some pins here to hold it in place.
stitch this at 3mm stitch length, 1/8 of an inch seam allowance. And this is how it will look, okay? So you're going to open it, and with the right side of your lining that's attached to the zipper facing down, you're going to get the other side of your zipper pocket with the right side facing you, and you're going to align the raw edge here of your zipper tape along the top part of that other zipper lining. And you need to make sure this time that your zipper pull is facing to the right, and you're just going to join them right here, same way as before. 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, 3mm stitch length. And here's how it's going to look, okay? You have your two zipper panels, wrong sides facing you, but you see the right side of your zipper and your zipper pull facing to the left. Bring that lining piece that you did a minute ago, flip it, and you're going to put a couple of pieces of double-sided tape along that panel, that zipper panel. And then take your zipper here, and you're going to place that opening right there in the center where the zipper is. You should be able to see all your zipper teeth. You should be able to see the zipper pull. Make sure you don't stitch this with the zipper pull somewhere away from that opening, okay? That you want to be able to see it. So before you take this to the sewing machine to stitch it in place, make sure you open your pocket like this and that you stitch it open. Otherwise, if you close it and when you stitch it here, you're going to close that pocket. And so take it to the sewing machine and, like I mentioned, stitch around the edges. I just want to mention that I double stitch around the zipper area just to reinforce the stitching, because this is an area of the bag that will have a lot of use. So I try to either stitch around it twice or stitch around here by the zipper teeth a couple of times. Now flip it over, and you're going to cut the leftover fabric that we have here. Carefully, making sure you don't cut the lining. And we're going to now fold the seam allowance up like this, so that when we close, this pocket is nice and finished. And so you're going to see you're seeing the wrong side of the fabric, and you're going to fold it towards the wrong side, so it will be, you will see the right side. And I'm going to use my iron to press it in place. Get a couple of clips and just keep the two pieces of fabric together like this. You are going to stitch them along the side only. So you're going to pull the lining away and make sure that when you stitch it, you're only stitching along the side, following the seam allowance and the pattern. Make sure that you catch all the layers, but you do not catch the lining. You're going to do that on both sides. Once you're done with the pocket, you will only stitch it on the sides. You're leaving the bottom open, okay? Put it aside and bring the other side of your lining panel and bring pattern number 9, which is your interior slip pocket. You're going to take that pattern number 9, and with the right sides together, you're going to fold it like this. Okay, and you're going to stitch around the sides and the bottom, but you're going to leave a little opening, because we are going to turn this right side out. So the top here is folded, and then you're going to leave an opening here. Use the seam allowance in the pattern. Go ahead and trim off the seam allowance on the side by half and turn it right side out. You may need a turning tool in this case. Press this now so it's nice and smooth, and the opening part here, it's folded in. Before adding this to the lining, you're going to take it to the sewing machine and you're going to top stitch along the folded side, not along the part where it's open, okay? Just to give it that top stitch finish look. Then take your lining piece and place the marking that is listed in the pattern, the number of inches down from the top, and find the middle point. And you're going to find the middle point also on your slip pocket, and you're going to match those two middle points together, and that's where you're going to stitch your slip pocket to your lining. And we're going to take this to the sewing machine and stitch about 1/8 of an inch seam allowance around the edges, you know, sides and bottom. And you also want to stitch a line down the center, so halfway of your slip pocket, so you'll have 2 pockets, okay? Make sure you back stitch on the beginning and all the time, and especially at the top, at the bottom, this area, like I mentioned, is also a heavy use area, so you want to make sure your stitching is secure. But also optional, completely up to you, you can do a small triangle on each corner and then stitch it, and then down the center. That will actually secure your stitching as well. So let's go ahead and do that now. Now this is completely optional, up to you, but you don't have to stitch the center line. You can leave it as a one whole pocket, which is what I'm going to do. You can do a bigger pocket here and then a smaller one here for like pens or pencils or something long that you carry around. It really is up to you. You can do 3 pockets. You can, I mean, there's options, okay? There are options. So I just want to say that before we move on to the next step, which it is to assemble now the bag lining. Now we're going to put all the lining pieces together. So now let's go ahead and assemble the bag lining. You're going to need your 2 lining pieces, the one with the zipper pocket and the one with the slip pocket, your zipper panel, and the 2 panel pieces here, pattern number 10. Get your pattern and find the center of all of these pieces and mark the center on the 2 top lining panels. Mark the center on your zipper panel and mark the center on your lining. So I marked it there and there. So we're going to start with the lining that has the zipper pocket. And we're going to now join all these 3 pieces following that center marking, okay? So you're going to place the lining panel with the zipper pocket right side up. You're going to place the recessed zipper panel with the right side up. So the pretty side up. Make sure the zipper is closed and that your zipper pull is to the left. And make sure that you align all the top edges here, matching those center markings that you placed. Now take one of your lining top panels and you're going to place it right side down. So make sure that the area here that looks like the V is pointing down towards the bottom of the lining. The longer side of your lining top panel matches the top of your lining, and that it's right sides down. So you see the wrong side of it. And you're going to also align it with those center markings. Perfect. Now let's join all of these 3 pieces together. You're going to stitch them from edge to edge using the seam allowance in the pattern, 3-4 millimeter stitch length. Okay, but make sure that you stitch all across the top of the lining here. So once you're done with that step, you are going to push that seam up towards the top lining panel. Okay, you can use your fingers for that. And you're going to top stitch it along that top panel. And you top stitch it using 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, 4 millimeter stitch length. And that is how it's going to look. So here we're going to do the exact same thing. I grab the other lining piece with the right side facing me, and then I'm placing the zipper panel facing up. So wrong side of the zipper panel facing the right side of the other lining panel, and I'm matching the center here, the markings. And then I'm going to take that other top lining panel and I'm going to align it to this section to sandwich the zipper panel in place. And again, the same way, with the right side facing down on the right side of your zipper panel, making sure the V section is pointing down. And also you want to make sure that your zipper pull is now to the right of the bag. So when you look at it in the front, you're looking at it and it's pointing to the right. And we're going to do the same thing. We're going to stitch it in place and then open it and top stitch it. So here's how it looks after you join the top lining panel to the lining and your zipper panel, okay? This is how it looks. You will see the wrong sides here, but if you flip this, you'll see the right side of your zipper panel, okay? So now we're going to join these 2 panels together. And you're going to join them right sides together. Now, one thing I want you to please pay attention to this part. This is a tip from me. When you join these on the right, on the side here, do not start at the top and continue to the bottom. Don't start pinning up here and continue. When you do that, you run the chance of these 2 seams not matching if by any chance your pattern was cut a little off, or if during the stitching you went off a little, 1/8 of an inch, whatever. You don't want this to be wonky and skew and crooked, okay? You want this to be smooth and you want them to match. So if I start in this side, for example, I notice that this panel is a little bit, just a tiny bit bigger than this one. So what you want to do is that you want to match the seams first, make sure they align, and then you start pinning. So, but you found that matching area first. So you know those two match, and then you start pinning. And if this top here or the bottom, whatever, it's a little bit off, it's okay. We can always trim that off. That's normal, that happens. You know, it's just part of the handmade process. Okay, now if it's too way off, like 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever, then you may want to, you know, review that and maybe take it out, stitch it again, do something. But if it's just a little bit like that, it's fine. What's more important is that those two seams match. So once you do that, then you do the same on the other side. Now make sure you pull the zipper away, look at my seams, and match them. Make sure that they're aligned, and that is done first, and then I can align the rest of the sides. We're going to stitch this along the side, and just a little bit here on the bottom. We're gonna leave a big opening, so maybe 1 inch and 1 inch. I do wanna mention there is some seam tapering on the lining. So we're going to start at 1 seam allowance here, and then we're going to go deeper, okay? The seam allowance is going to grow as we go down. Just pay attention to what the pattern says, the seam allowances for the pattern, but that is on purpose because you want your lining to be a little bit snug inside your bag. You don't want to open your bag and your lining is all wrinkled and just bigger on the inside. You want it to be tighter. So let's go ahead and do that now. So you may get to this area here and it gets really bulky. If you're having a hard time, just go slowly with your sewing machine. Maybe this is the time to make sure you have a new needle in your sewing machine, and just take it slow, okay? Because this area, it's a little bulky. It's not difficult, but you know, just wanted to mention that. Perfect. So once you have that done, what you're going to do is open up your corners here. You're going to box them and just open your seam allowance. Okay, open the 2 pieces of fabric. You want it to be flat like that. And make sure again that your seams match right there like that. You're going to do that on both corners, bottom corners. Take it to the sewing machine and stitch it following the seam allowance that the pattern designer provides. Something else we're going to do is you're going to make sure that your zipper, the top zipper is open and the other zipper is open as well. So the zipper pocket and the zipper panel, that they're both open. Okay. Now we're going to trim off all these excess seam allowance, okay, and even on the sides as well. Just do not trim any of the fabric off here on the opening. And I'm going to trim off this section right here that is a little bit extra. Okay, great. So now everything is trimmed off. My zipper is open here, in here. Now bring your outer bag that you made a few minutes ago, and you're going to join the exterior and the lining together. So what you're going to do is insert your exterior inside your lining. You want to make sure that you insert it where the outer full pocket on your exterior bag is on the side of your interior zipper pocket. So take your time with this step. It may take a minute because remember, your lining, it's a little bit more narrow than your exterior. Okay. And just push inside there with your hands. And make sure that you push the tabs inside, the strap connectors and the zipper, and everything is in there. So again, to double check, your full width pocket on the back of your exterior bag, it's on the side of the zipper lining pocket, and your half width outer pocket, the one with the pretty fabric or whatever, the one that is half, is touching the interior slip pocket. If you say yes to both of those, then you have inserted correctly. Take your pins and clip along the top edge of both of these pieces. Make sure that your tab connector here matches on that seam of the exterior. So those two are aligned and they match. And we're gonna do that on this side as well. It's going to feel like it's not all in there, but don't worry about it, it is. So just keep going, joining the exterior to the lining along the top edge. And I am going to use quite a bit of pins in this case, because you want to make sure it stays in place. You don't want it to slide around when you're stitching it in place. And your centers should match. Okay, so here's my center marking for my top lining, and here's the center marking for my exterior. You just have to move the fabric around a little bit, okay, until you get them all in there. So here's how it looks before I take it to the sewing machine. You just want to make sure that all the areas are smooth, that everything matches, that you don't have extra fabric in one area that it will create a wrinkle. Just move the fabric around, push it inside, do whatever you need to do. But that's how it's supposed to look on both sides. So now I'm going to take it to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew along the top edge using the seam allowance in the pattern. I'm going to start stitching kind of like on what is supposed to be the back of the bag, and I put, you know, all the bulkiness of the bag up here and just the flat side against the bed of the sewing machine. There's a little bit of a pivot here that you have to do because of the shape. I feel the D-ring there, so I'm just gonna be careful. This area, it's a little bit bulky, so just go slow and make sure you open your seam. now we're going to turn this bag right side out, and we're going to close the lining bottoms and the zipper pocket. So you're going to turn the bag right side out through the opening in the lining. So this opening right here. And so take your time because this may take a little bit. Depending on your material, it may actually be hard to do. This is the birthing process of the bag, right? As we know it. Well, not too bad. Yeah, this faux leather is really nice. So, perfect. Okay, so it's turned. So you're going to reach there with your hand. Okay. The zipper tabs the zipper is there. The strap tabs are there. So once you turn the bag right side out through the opening on the lining, now close up the lining opening. So you're going to put your hand through the zipper pocket and you're going to pull that unfinished lining through the zipper pocket and stitch it in place and bring it back. Perfect. So now we're going to push the lining again out through the zipper pocket, and you can actually pull it inside, or push it, sorry, inside the bag. Go ahead and now pull the fabric on your zipper pocket because we're going to also close this up. So clip it, okay, and take it to the sewing machine and stitch it in place. Great, so now you are going to push your lining, your zipper pocket lining inside, and go ahead and tug your the rest of your lining inside the bag like this. So you're gonna fold it along the seam here. Where your the exterior and your top lining panel meet. Oh, this is kind of thick. Okay, I'm gonna use that. Okay. My wonder clips do not hold this. It's a lot of thickness there, I can tell you that much. So this is going to be an area of your bag that you have to go slow. Take your time because there is a lot of bulkiness. But that was to be expected. Oh, we're getting to the end. Okay, so make sure your zipper is pulled down, that everything is tucked in, nice and smooth at the bottom, that your tab connectors are there. I mean your strap connector. Wow, perfect. So now we're going to top stitch around the top of the bag. For top stitching, it's usually 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, right? 4 millimeter stitch length, especially if you're using some sort of faux leather, vinyl, etc. If your machine doesn't take the 1/8 of an inch seam allowance, you can do a 1/4 inch. I have done a 1/4 inch and it looks nice. So it really is up to your machine and your material. I left a lot of thread here left because I am not going to backstitch. I'm going to tie a knot in this case. When I get to the tab here, I sometimes like to reinforce the stitching a little bit, so I kind of backstitch one, continue, and then backstitch at the end. I feel like it helps a little bit because this area, you know, it's going to take all the weight of your bag. So if you can do that, if your machine lets you, I would highly recommend that. We're getting towards the end here, and I'm going to stop the stitching right there. Okay, and I'm not going to cut it. I'm going to pull the thread and then cut there. So now I'm going to pull the thread to the front. Okay, and I'm just going to tie a knot. I don't know if you can see it. You can do back stitching here as well. It really is up to you. I just, for some reason, sometimes the back stitching doesn't like go back the way I want it to. It's not, sometimes it's not clean. It's not. So I do this. And I just put a little dot of freight check on those two, just a little dot. There you go. And now you can add your strap to your bag, and look at that, you guys. It is absolutely beautiful. I have a full tutorial showing you how to make this double-sided strap here on my YouTube channel. So go check it out now so that you can finish your beautiful Sirina bag.